So, welcome to Module 2. Super excited you're here. And Module 2, in terms of the investment crowdfunding or debt crowdfunding, is going to be focused on, directors and legal. Now, why directors and legal? Most businesses are run by specific individuals. And once again, the intermediary is required to make sure that the people who are behind this company are real, they don't have any legal issue, they don't have any police problems, and they're not going to run away with investors' money. So you approach this section of your application with an understanding that the directors that are in this business are capable of running it. Now, we're going to ask very basic questions like who are their names, what's their role, and what's their background and experience qualification to that business you want to raise capital for. That is super important because, individuals that are going to invest in you want to be sure that the people on your team are capable of actually executing. So you want to make sure that the people on your team have experience in executing the projects that you're asking for money for. So things like their CVs are very key, where we're going to see things like their background qualification. And then the critical Ghana ID card is going to be required because then we can do background checks on the director. As a matter of fact, it's ideal to do a police report on each director to ensure your application can go through smoothly. Remember, it's directors and legal. And at this point, what's going to happen is that when your application is being looked at, legal, lawyers are going to actually look at these applications and going to make sure that investors are protected. So you want to make sure your directors do not have any issue with the law. Now, the next component is going to be the legal information. Who is the company secretary, and do you already have a transactional lawyer? They're going to be lawyers who are going to look at this to make sure that investors are protected once again. So if you have a company secretary or lawyer, please indicate it there. Next is going to be statutory payment proofs. Now, a lot of early stage businesses fall corporate to this. Why is it important? First of all, why should you have evidence of statutory payments? First of all, it's important because it means that you are adhering to the regulations, the rules in the country, and for that matter, investors are protected. Think about it. Say you raise 5 million cedis and you owe the government 2 million cedis. That means if you raise capital from investors, the government is going to take that money, and we don't want that to happen. So we want to have proof of payment of statutory fees. So for example, PAYE, SNIT, your tax, and the company income tax. The beautiful thing is that for a lot of early stage MSMEs, there are actually exemptions for them. If you want an exemption, you really have to apply for these exemptions and show them to us in the application so that we know that you're exempted from these taxes. But it's very critical that if you've not done these things and you've not paid them, you go and get these things done, because not only does it enhance your implication, but it gives investors the confidence that you actually adhere to regulations and rules. So your PAYE, your SNIT for your employment, and your tax and your CIT. If you made no returns, that's fine, but you have to indicate all these things. The next thing I want to say is your audited financials. This is critical, and you're going to see it both at the financial section and at the legal section, because both lawyers and also auditors are going to want to cite it and be sure that the numbers you're presenting are accurate. But it's going to be more pronounced on the financial section when we get there. The last but most critical part of the application is your organization's management. Now, what's your org chart? Who is this? Who is the board? Who is the CEO? Who are the managers in that business? Remember, it doesn't matter if it's even a startup business or it's a large business. All type of businesses can raise capital through investment crowdfunding. But we want to be sure you have a clear understanding of what you're doing and you have management in place and a structure, especially the management CV, to make sure that these guys have capacity to execute and to take retail investors' money. So for debt crowdfunding, these are some of the critical things we're going to look at the second stage when we are looking at the directors and the legal. What are the key points that you have to remember? Remember that the directors, their information should be there, their Ghana cards should be there, their CVs should be there, which have evidence they are capable. Also, if you have a company secretary or any legal transaction advisor, we would like to know. And also the organizational chart. What's the management structure like? What's the board? Who's the CEO? Who are the management in place? And these are critical because it's going to help us to understand how the business is running, how it's structured, and that it can effectively take investors' capital and pay back. So thank you for joining us on Module 2. And remember, take the checklist, put all your information in your data room, and check off as you gather this information for your application. Thank you, and look forward to seeing you in the next module.